I'd like to invite to the stage the director of the Grayling Group, Charles Feld. Charles, if you're here, please come up. A case study on building a greener future for business travel, the GBTA Sustainability Initiative. Charles.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. So my name is Charles Feld. I'm a director at Grayling. I cover energy, sustainability, and transport. And I'm here on behalf of GBTA. So this is a good transition with the previous panel, where Catherine Logan touched upon some of the initiatives that the Trade Association has been working on. And I'm here to talk to you about GBTA's sustainability initiative, or as we call it, its sustainability journey. So, 7,000 plus members, and they manage global expenditures over $345 billion. Grayling, my organization, has been supporting GBTA with its outreach in Brussels and in London, and also helping it deliver its sustainability journey that I'm going to present to you now. So I think that we can all agree that we need a voice for business travel on sustainability, and I think that the previous panel highlighted how important this is. That's why GBTA is making sustainability a standalone program under the newly relaunched GBTA Foundation. So the focus now is clearly on decarbonizing business travel by empowering corporate buyers and suppliers to reduce emissions and act on climate. And how are we doing that? The sustainability journey is in fact grounded on 3 pillars or work streams. I'm going to present these in more detail moving forward, but I quickly want to explain what they are. So the first one is learning. GBTA's fundamental mission is to educate its members, to give them the knowledge, the know-how, the tools to improve their performance. And that's exactly what we've been trying to do on sustainability with the new sustainability toolkit, with a new study on the state of sustainability, which I'll mention later on. The second pillar is advocacy, and this is of course also fundamental, so the business travel industry's voice is heard, and we can actually share best practice, concrete experiences with decision makers to help them create a regulatory framework that is fit for purpose. So we're also very active on that front. The third pillar is community. Community is what is happening right now. Events like a World for Travel are absolutely essential to bring stakeholders to the table, and GBTA is trying to play its part in that process by mobilizing its members, suppliers and buyers, obviously, but also the broader ecosystem. So we're engaging with decision makers, with civil society, with academics, just to make sure that everyone that can help is involved in the sustainability journey. Before presenting these 3 work streams in a bit more detail, I just want to mention a couple of specific initiatives that GBTA has been working on. The first one is the Win It network, which is actually focused on helping women within the travel industries achieve positive change for their careers. And that's something that's also very important for GBTA. And the second one is the Ladders Team Mentor Program, which is for young professionals to help them thrive within the industry and help build the next generation of business travel professionals. So those are just 2 initiatives on the social side, but this presentation obviously focuses more on sustainability from an environmental standpoint. So diving into these different work streams. The first one is learning. Learning is key, and I think a panelist yesterday said, you can't manage what you can't measure. So the starting point for the sustainability journey was actually the launch of a landmark study by GBTA earlier this year, and I think that Catherine mentioned this in the previous panel discussion, called the State of Sustainability. What does this study aim to achieve, and what does it say? So, it enabled us to survey over 750 buyers and suppliers and over 100 external stakeholders to try to understand their perception of sustainability in the business travel sector and what they thought should be the priorities going forward. You have some of the key takeaways here, but I'd just like to mention a few that are, essential in my mind. First, sustainability is obviously on everyone's mind. 89% of industry respondents say that it should be a priority going forward for the industry. It's also becoming an integral part of travel management. 76% of industry respondents currently have sustainable practices or are planning to use some to manage their travel policies, so that's great news. Climate action and reducing carbon emissions are obviously a key priority. A lot of organizations are using the UN Sustainable Development Goals to guide them in this journey, so that's also good news. And emission reductions, energy efficiency, waste reduction, but also employee health and safety are some of the top material issues. The race to net zero is in motion, and business travel is part of it. One of the key takeaways from this study is that close to 100 companies that have SBTI targets have specific targets for business travel, so that's also good. However, the bad news is that the self-assessment is not looking good, and that the external perception is even worse, as you can see here. More than a third of industry professionals say that we're not doing enough on the sustainability front, and more than half of the external stakeholders think the same. So what are the major obstacles or hurdles to improve the sector's performance? Higher costs, the lack of data, and regulatory uncertainty are identified as the main barriers for action. The key actions that need to be taken to improve the sector's performance are culture change, and that's probably the biggest challenge, but also better data tracking and harmonizing standards. And I know that there's a panel later today that will touch upon that. So influencing travel behavior is seen as key. And one of the main takeaways of this study is that 90% of members say that GBTA, as the main organization in the sector, should guide them on this journey. So that's our clear mandate right here. The second initiative is GBTA's revamped sustainability toolkit. This is a very concrete and collaborative tool that we've developed and presented over the last summer. And instead of describing it with words, I have a short video here under a minute that I'll just show you, and that explains what it is. So that's for the sustainability toolkit. So this was really a collaborative project involving all the experts within the organization, and I'll touch upon this when I mention the new governance that has been put in place. For those of you that are interested, please use the QR code and you can have a look at the toolkit that's available online. So these are two examples of how GBTA has been trying to help with research, education, and learning. The next vertical is advocacy, and this is absolutely fundamental. And I think that several speakers actually pinpointed the importance of what governments are doing right now and the regulatory pressure on the sector. So what GBTA has been doing and what Grayling has been supporting with is issuing clear calls to action by underlining what the sector needs from policymakers to make the green transition a reality. So here you have a couple of examples of some of the subsectors that we've been looking at. Air travel obviously is one. The uptake of sustainable aviation fuels is absolutely crucial for the sector to succeed in its transition. Road transport is another, promoting the deployment of charging infrastructure, and the previous panel also touched upon this. Yesterday, the European institutions actually agreed on the first piece of legislation as part of the Fit for 55 package, which is banning the internal combustion engine for cars by 2035. Bearing that in mind, the rollout of infrastructure for EVs is absolutely crucial, and GBTA has been pushing for this very actively. Rail transport, multimodality, developing greener transport solutions is also key, and that's why GBTA has been supporting the European Commission in its efforts to shift some of the transport from air to rail, at least give business travelers more options. Accommodation is also key. Right now, discussions are taking place on the energy performance of buildings, and the European Commission is also trying to improve the performance of the building stock, and we're very active on that front as well. And finally, the energy mix. With the energy crisis right now and the war in Russia, some of the targets that have been set regarding the uptake of renewable energy or energy efficiency are more relevant than ever, and in the business travel sector obviously also. So all these different files are clear opportunities to support the transition for both the transport and the hospitality sector. So we've been doing everything we can to engage with the key decision makers, in particular in Brussels, where we're active, to inform them of the realities in the business travel sector and what needs to be done in terms of the enabling conditions to support the sustainability journey. Some of the key actions that have been taken by GBTA on the advocacy front are described in this slide. So we're obviously very active in Brussels, but also in the US. For example, GBTA has been playing an active role in supporting SAFs by endorsing the US SAF Grand Challenge, which is a government-wide collaboration to reduce the cost, improve the sustainability, and the production of SAFs. At the European level, we have been sharing our recommendations on Count Emissions EU and actively pushing for the standardization of emissions data disclosure. Finally, GBTA is a proud signatory of the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism, which was launched at COP26. And this is closely related to the importance of working collaboratively with the rest of the industry. The third and final pillar is community. I think that we can all agree that in order to take on the global challenge of sustainability and business travel, we need a global community. So GBTA is acting as a driving force to mobilize the business travel ecosystem across all verticals, be it aviation, hospitality, car rentals, intermediary like travel agencies, really trying to bring everyone to the table. It's been doing that first internally by setting up a new governance and by leveraging subject matter expertise within the organization. This is what's described on this slide. We have a sustainability committee that has been very active on some of the projects that I mentioned, like the toolkit, different task forces with subject matter experts, but also a sustainability leadership council with leaders from 20 supply-side companies, senior C-suite experts that are actually sharing their knowledge and their expertise to make sure that our work is grounded in reality. The same on the buy side, with companies that are part of the corporate advisory board. So these different instances are working together to make sure that what GBTA produces is relevant and is fit for purpose. On the external side, I know that the previous panel mentioned this, we're also trying to bring stakeholders to the table and making sure that everyone has a part in this discussion. So GBTA is organizing its first ever Sustainability Summit on Business Travel on the 8th of November in Brussels. And what's exciting about this new event? Well, first, it's the first summit of its kind. It's head-on on addressing climate action, which is, I hope you're convinced by now, the biggest challenge for our industry. And it's taking place in parallel of the COP27 negotiations. So both will hopefully feed into each other and we can connect the dots. It's also a stimulating multi-stakeholder debate, and we will touch upon some of the solutions that we have today and that we should consider with industry representatives, decision makers, several senior officials from the European institutions, and civil society leaders. Hopefully, we can present a mix of inspirational, very practical, and forward-looking sessions that will be interactive and that will, towards the end of the day, help us have a clearer idea of how we can make the transition in the sector reality. That's a quick overview of what GBTA's sustainability journey is. I really hope that everyone that's interested in business travel and sustainability at large can join us in Brussels in a couple of weeks. I also hope that this presentation was informative. I'll leave it at that, but I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for your attention.